It's been a little while, but today we're finally taking a look at how to set up and install View Assist on your unlocked Echo Show device. Before we get started with running through all of the things that we're going to need and what we're actually going to need to do, there's a couple of little bits of housekeeping that I want to just quickly touch on. First of all, I've got a few assumptions, so if you're following along with this video, I'm going to be assuming that you've already got an unlocked Echo Show device and that you're also running the lineage, that you've got that operating system set up and installed on your unlocked device. At the time of recording this video, there's actually a few devices now that actually support unlocking the Echo and also installing Lineage, and these devices are the first generation Echo Show 5, the second generation Echo Show 5, and also the first generation Echo Show 8, so you can make use of any of those devices to just follow along with this video. It's great to see that more and more devices are actually getting this support and becoming unlockable, because when I first started doing this a couple of months ago, it was only the first generation Echo Show 5, so it's great that we've got another two devices, and who knows, maybe when you watch this there might be even more. My second assumption is that you've got HomeAssistant already set up and installed. Along with this, you're also going to need to have HACS set up and installed, and you're also going to need to have a little bit of knowledge about how voice pipelines work and how the HomeAssistant voice works, and some of the things that are possible and also not possible. Don't worry too much about the last part because I'll touch on that a little bit, but you will need to have HACS set up and installed. And if you don't have that, then also don't worry, because I've got a handy little guide that you can follow along with, and you'll have it set up and installed in a few minutes. In this video, I'm going to be making use of the Echo Show 5 first generation, but as I mentioned, it is now also possible to do all of this stuff on other Echo devices. As well as creating today's video, I'm also going to be working on some future videos that are going to cover things like troubleshooting and also updating some of the previous guides that I've done, and this is all going to be done with the Echo Show 8. So for everyone that's been asking for the Echo Show 8, it's kind of in the works. I'm also not going to be going over absolutely every single thing that you can do with View Assist, because there is so many things that you can do. There's lots you can tweak, customize, configure. So I'm going to give you everything that you're going to need to actually get started so that you can go off and start making your own weird and wonderful View Assist things. But I will be following it up in the future with a more in-depth and more advanced look at all of the things like configuration, blueprints, and all of that good stuff. If you want to help support my videos and all of the efforts with these tutorials, then be sure to like, comment and subscribe. And if you really want to help and you want to help me get that new Echo and do some more Echo Show 8 things, then feel free to check out my Patreon and help support me over there, because new Echoes are actually really expensive. And speaking of supporting me, that kind of leads us nicely onto today's video sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay is your one-stop shop for CNC, 3D printing, PCB design and assembly, and much, much more. You can make use of their on-demand services such as 3D printing or PCB design and have your products professionally manufactured and assembled. Some of the cool projects that I've used PCBWay for on the channel are the manufacture of these custom PCBs that fit directly inside of your Google Nest Minis, which allow you to have full local control. What's nice about PCBWay is that when you place an order, you get a full insight into your product's current state and the process that it's currently in, and then it gets delivered straight to your door. So if you've got a cool project or idea that you want to see brought to life, then go check out PCBWay today. With all of that out of the way then, let's get into View Assist. To get started, we need to install a few different custom cards from HACS. These are all required for the View Assist dashboards to actually make them work properly, so make sure that you install all of them if you want the dashboards to work and function as intended. The three cards that we're going to need are the layout card, the card mod, and also the button card. You'll be able to find all of these over at HACS just by doing a quick search, so just type each one in, hit search, hit install, and then you'll be done. With all of those cards now added, the next thing that we're going to add is the View Assist integration, and also the View Assist companion integration. So back over in HACS, if you start typing View Assist, you should see the View Assist companion app and also the View Assist integration appear. First, start by selecting the View Assist integration, then just select download in the bottom right corner and then download again. If you then go back, you should be able to select the View Assist companion app, and it's just a case of rinse and repeat here. So select it, select download, and then hit download again. That should pretty much be everything that we need, so just make sure you've got all of those, and then what we're going to do now is just quickly give HomeAssistant a reboot, just to make sure everything reloads correctly. So that's the HomeAssistant side of things done. Next up, we've got the Echo Show side of things. To make use of View Assist on the Echo Show, there's actually quite a few different methods and different options that you can use. The method that we're going to be using today, and the one that I'd actually recommend, having played around with it for the last few months, is the ViewAssist companion app. In order to make use of the ViewAssistant companion app, we're going to need to set up and install this as an APK on our Echo. And again, to actually get this onto the Echo, there's a whole bunch of different methods that you can use. You can sideload it, you can use ADB, you can just open up a browser on the actual Echo and install it like that. So it's entirely up to you, however you want to do it. Just make sure you get it downloaded and installed. The method that I'm going to be using is ADB, so if you're following along from some of those previous videos, it's going to be the same process that I've used there, and if you're not and you want to know how to do it, then again, I've showed it in that video, so just copy along what I did in those. Whichever method you end up using, you'll need to first head over to the GitHub page and download the Voice Assistant Companion app, or VACA for short, and that's VACA, not VECNA. Now that we've got the APK file, we're ready to actually install it onto the Echo. So over on Windows side, I'm just going to open up my ADB folder, and in here I can actually see the adb.exe file, and I can also see that VACA file that we just downloaded. Inside of this folder, I'm just going to right click anywhere, and I'm going to choose to open with Windows Terminal, and this is just going to spawn the Windows Terminal already connected to this folder. In order for ADB to see the Echo, I just need to plug it into the PC. So plug in the power and plug in the USB cable if you haven't already, and then just connect it up to the computer. Inside of this little terminal window, we can now just type adb.exe, and you should see some ADB information appear, letting you know that ADB is up and running. We can also type ADB devices, and what that should do is it should just display a list of any connected ADB devices. So in my list here, I can see my connected Echo Show. Now that I'm happy that ADB can see my Echo Show, we can type our next command, which is adb install, and then we're going to type VACA, and then if you hit tab, it will auto-complete the rest. So it should be vaca-0.9.0.apk, and with that entered, we can just hit enter. What this is going to do is it's going to perform its streamed install, so basically it's just going to install the application on the Echo Show, and this should only take a couple of seconds. So if we now take a look at the Echo Show, on the app tray you should now see the ViewAssist app. With that installed, we can now select the app to launch it. On its first launch, it's going to take a few seconds to load, as it's going to be asking you to grant a whole bunch of different permissions. These are going to be permissions for things like the audio, the media, write permissions, and a couple of other things, and you will need to confirm all of these in order to get everything working correctly. Once you've granted access to all of those permissions, you should end up with this blue screen where it's going to tell you that it's waiting for a connection. In HomeAssistant, we can now add the ViewAssist integration. To do this, just head into your integrations and then select Add Integration, and then do a search for ViewAssist. ViewAssist should appear in your list and you can select it. What this will now do is it will create the master configuration file that will be used and adopted by any of your ViewAssist devices. Once you see the master configuration screen appear, just go ahead and press Submit. That will then leave you with the ViewAssist integration with one device showing as the master configuration. In this video, I'm not going to be delving too deep into the configuration files, as that's a topic for another day, but all of the configuration files are all heavily documented over at the official wiki page. If we now jump back to HomeAssistant and check out our devices, we should see that a new companion app device has been automatically detected, and we can select this and then start running through the setup. This setup just involves setting an area, naming your device, setting your device's voice assistant, and also setting its voice. All of these settings are all customizable and configurable, so don't worry if you set something now and want to change it later. You can just change and update this at any point. With all of your details entered, just press done and you should see the new integration added to your list. In the companion app, you'll now see that a new device has been added, and inside of here you'll be able to access all of the different controls, the different sensors, and also all of the diagnostics for the Echo. You can do things like play the alarm sound, you can adjust the media, adjust the volume, adjust the screen brightness, turn the screen on and off, and much more. Next, we're going to open the ViewAssist integration, and from here we're going to choose to select to add a device. The type of device that we're adding is going to be the ViewAssist companion app device, but if you add in some kind of other device like an Android tablet or something else, you can specify that here. With that selected, you need to set the satellite's name, and in the drop down for devices, you should also be able to see that device that you added a second ago, and this will just have whatever name you gave it previously. If you press submit on that, you should now see a brand new device for your Echo Show, and also the master configuration. You might have noticed that when you added the companion app, your Echo will have started showing the Home Assistant login screen. So on your Echo, you can now enter your Home Assistant credentials with whatever preferred Home Assistant account you want. As you start typing it, you should get that virtual keyboard. So if you've got sausage fingers, it might take you a couple of goes to get your credentials in, but just enter your credentials and log in. Once you're logged in, if you open up the side menu and then scroll down, you should see that there's a new View Assist dashboard, so just select this. Once you select that, it should open up the brand new View Assist dashboard, but if you see an error like this where it's telling you there's a problem with a button card or something else, and you have actually installed those cards earlier on in the video, then don't worry. If you just pull down from the top of the screen, it will cause the page to refresh, and it should display that new View Assist clock. At this point, View Assist is pretty much 90% done. There's just a few things that we need to tweak and configure in order to get everything working. I'm going to be running through some of these steps quite quickly because View Assist is pretty big. There's lots you can do and there's lots of things that you can tweak and customize, but I will be following this video up with more of an in-depth and more advanced kind of setup. So if you aren't sure about everything, don't worry, and be sure to stick around for whatever that next video is. With View Assist, the way that you customize and configure things is all done through a series of configuration files. For being able to customize the things that you say and what's displayed, that's all done through a series of different automations and different blueprints. With actually configuring the different parts and how things are all linked together, that's done through the View Assist integration, and for this you've got two different sets of config. There's the master config, which acts as an overall master, so whatever you set here passes down to any View Assist devices that you have. In this example we only have one, so it would only affect this one. You then individually have an individual device config, and if you set something here, it's going to overwrite something that was previously set in master. So the individual devices are configured in the individual device section, and then master configures for everything. And even though I keep talking about modifying different configuration files and changing bits of config, in fact, every single piece of config that you actually modify all has a user interface and some form of description next to it. So it's actually really well documented and really easy to just go in and chop and change things. Let's start with something simple then, like being able to add the weather to the main View Assist page. If you open up the View Assist integration and you select the little gear on the master configuration file, you'll see an option for default options. Inside of here, the top entity is going to be the weather. So for this one, we're going to select it and you can set your own preferred weather entity. With that done, you can just scroll to the bottom and press submit. And as soon as you press submit, you should see the weather appear on your View Assist page. Now that you can see that little weather icon on the dashboard, if you actually select this, it's going to take you to the full weather view, and this is going to show you a daily forecast. After about 20 seconds, the page will then return back to the home page, and if you wanted to, you can customize this so that that timeout lasts a bit longer. Next, we're going to configure our device and just expand on that weather example. So we're going to customize it so that we can actually make use of our voice to actually display that weather page. To do this, we're going to head into the companion integration and just scroll down to the configuration section, and we're just going to check that we've actually got a voice assistant set up and also that you've got a wake word set. With those enabled, we'll now need to enable some of the voice blueprints, and it's these voice blueprints that are going to be used to actually trigger the custom actions to do things like displaying the weather, playing music, and more. This is probably also a really good time to point out that in order for any of the voice commands to work with View Assist, you do first need to actually turn on and enable the specific blueprints, and this goes for any and all of View Assist commands. In Home Assistant, just open up Settings, choose Automations and Scene, and then along the top select Blueprints. In here you'll see that there's lots of new blueprints all listed as View Assist, and you can pick and choose the ones that you want to add. As we're trying to get our weather to display, we're going to just enable the weather one. So from the list, just select the blueprint for how's the weather. Inside the blueprint, you can adjust the settings for things like the language, and you can also modify the command phrase. So if you wanted the command to be said differently, or you wanted extra voice notes or different bits of phrases, then you can set these here. For this particular one, I'm happy with how it works, so you just need to select the weather entity and then choose the dashboard that you want it to be displayed on. Again, I'm happy with the default one, but if you wanted to pick a custom one or you wanted to make your own weather page, you could adjust that here and then just set that value here. So just make any of the changes that you want and then press save. With that done, you should now be able to say your wake word and you should end up with something like this. Okay, Nabu. How's the weather?
It's 10.1 degrees and rainy.
Let's do another one. For this next one, we're going to make use of music, and we're going to be using Music Assistant. So obviously you're going to need to already have Music Assistant set up and installed, and if you haven't yet seen or checked that out, then I definitely recommend that you do. Just like before, and this is actually how all of the View Assist controls work, you just go into the blueprint and then customize and change them as you want. So just head into the blueprint and then select the one for the Music Assistant integration. With this one, I'm also really happy with how it is. I think Donnie's done a really good job here with actually picking all of the natural sounding phrases. So with this one, all you need to do is just select the Music Assistant as the integration and then just hit save. With the Music Assistant one, this one's a little bit different because when you actually add a new View Assist device, Music Assistant automatically creates a second media player, and it's that second media player that actually needs to be used in order for the View Assist page to work. To fix this, we're just going to open up the View Assist integration. I'm going to select the individual device configuration and we're going to choose the core device configuration. In here, you'll see an option for the music player, and inside of this, we need to update the device so that it's the Music Assistant version. Typically, what Music Assistant does is it just creates another version of your media player and calls it _2. So in here, if you just start typing the name of your media player, you should see an _2 version. And if you select that, that's pretty much all you need to do. If you can't see the device that Music Assistant's created and you can't see that _2 version, if you just head back to your device page and search the name of your device, it should appear listed, and right next to it there should be a version that says Music Assistant Integration, and this is going to be the device that you want to set in the music player config. With that all done, you should now be able to say your wake word and you should be able to play some music, and you'll get this really nice screen that's got a bit of cover art. Okay Nabu, play songs by Imagine Dragons. Once you do this, the first thing you're probably going to think is, how do I actually stop this, or how do I skip this song? And that's where the next blueprint comes in. So the next one that I recommend you check out and enable is the device functions blueprint. Inside of here, there's going to be lots of device specific commands, things like stop media and skip tracks. So just have a little read through this, and again, you can customize and configure this however you want. There's also lots of other really cool blueprints. There's ones for viewing your cameras, there's one for viewing locations of members of your household, and there's also ones for showing things like how to spell words. Okay Nabu, how do you spell subscribe?
Subscribe is spelled S-U-B-S-C-R-I-B-E.
In the next View Assist video that I do, I'm going to be running through more of the features and going over more of the advanced concepts and features, as well as just diving into more of the customization. Everything that we've gone over today should be enough to get you started and should give you plenty to play with, so go nuts and let me know what cool things you start customizing and what cool View Assist things you come up with. But there we go guys, that's been a little look at how to set up and install View Assist. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that you want a bit more coverage on, or if you're having any issues or any problems with using this or setting up View Assist, then again, just chuck them in the comments. Also, go and check out the Discord page for View Assist, where you'll be able to find lots more information and have other people help you out with this project. A massive thank you to Donnie, Mark Parker, Ben Griss, Roger Ortiz, and pretty much anyone and everyone that's helped contribute with this awesome project. You can find links to all of the places and all of the people all down there in the description below. And if you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop me a like, and if you aren't already, hit that subscribe button and ding dong the notification bell. You'll then be alerted to any future video that I do. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.